Yeah, it is February 9th, and I'm Bill Horns. I'm calling to order this meeting of the Transportation and Transit Commission. I notice that we have unanimous attendance here. I see myself, Rich, Gabriella, Elizabeth, Micah, Jason, and that Mike Gurnetzky is with us, although I can't see his face. We do have a quorum. And if Gabrielle, are you still here, by the way?
I am still here. Yes.
Okay. I'm a little at a disadvantage because I'm in this bedroom of a rented house out here, and my technical capabilities are somewhat limited. So I'm going to ask Gabrielle if you, as Vice Chairman of the Commission, would preside at this meeting, because I think you could probably do it more easily than I can. I'll be here, but if I could ask you to do that, please do so. She ran for it now. She's gone.
You scared her off.
Yeah. Did you hear my request, Gabriella?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? I'm having some difficulty with my internet.
Oh, well, maybe you're the wrong one to pick on, but I think you're the vice chairman, and because I'm a little bit disabled here too, electronically, I'm asking if you would preside at this meeting. I'd be
happy to do so.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
So we'll go ahead. I just established that we have a quorum, so you don't have to worry about that.
Fabulous. So we can move on to agenda item number 4, public appearances for non-agenda items. I don't believe we have anybody in chambers or online. So we can go ahead and move on to agenda item number 5, approval of the agenda. Everyone would want to take a quick look and see if we want to move anything around.
I'll move to approve.
Great. Motion to approve by Rich. Do I have a second?
I second.
Second by Jason. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 Aye. All right, motion carries. Moving on to agenda item number 7, report from department. And at the beginning of the report, if I can make a request that Tim, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself as well, to start it off.
Absolutely. My name is Tim Volker. I'm the new Director of Public Works City Engineer for the City of Fitchburg. I started on January 23rd, 2023, so a little over 2 weeks ago. Was born and raised in Wisconsin, went to UW-Madison, graduated with a biological systems engineering degree from UW-Madison. It's a fancy word for agricultural engineering. My emphasis was in natural resources and environmental engineering. Upon graduation, I moved to Florida and practiced engineering down there for the last 17 years. I'm a registered and licensed professional engineer in the state of Florida, so I'll be looking to get my license up here in Wisconsin. Down in Florida, I worked for a company that did land development. We laid out the site for developers for residential, commercial, industrial. So we did the paving, grading, drainage, water, sewer for developments. And then in 2008, the recession hit and the housing market collapsed. So I went to work for a company called Carollo Engineers, which is a nationwide company doing water and wastewater treatment. And when the economy got better, I found a job closer to home where I was living down in Florida for the city of Stuart. It's about 17,000 people along the east coast of Florida, just north of West Palm Beach. And I started out as the city engineer, was promoted to the assistant public works director, city engineer, and then the last couple years I was their utilities and engineering director. Last 8 years have worked for a municipality. Transportation, I was part of the county's metropolitan planning organization, sat on their TAC committee, We did several streetscape projects throughout the city, bicycle, pedestrian uses. We had a river walk that we used or had in the city. So transportation is something that I'm familiar with. It's important to me. So I look forward to helping Fitchburg with their transportation needs. And then as far as the department report, as I mentioned, I started on Monday, January 23rd, so I don't have much to report. Most of my meetings have been kind of just introduction, so I'm trying to get caught up to speed on a lot of stuff. I did watch the last Transportation and Transit Commission meeting with the study that was brought up, so we are looking into the state grant program to help leverage the $25,000. So we'll be working on that in the upcoming, month or two that's coming up. So other than that, does anyone have any questions for me?
I do have one question.
Sure.
Thanks so much for the introduction. That was great. So cool to hear about your background. We're so excited to have you here in Fitchburg. So welcome. My one question is about, I don't know if you've had a chance to speak about the bus stops, specifically the Route 75. It's a issue that we brought up at the last meeting, and I believe that Chad and maybe some of your predecessors were working on that, but I don't know if you were looped into that conversation, but I am eager to get an update on that, given the fact that the Metro network redesign is very fast approaching in June, so.
And I did recall seeing or watching that on the last meeting specifically. Was it the elimination of some of the bus stops that was the concern? Yeah,
okay. And I did write up an email I forwarded to you that I sent to the administrator, Chad Brecklin, and essentially the indication was that all the bus stops along McKee Road that the 75 stopped at were being eliminated.
Okay.
Even from the outset, the understanding was that route was going to continue going through Fitchburg and stopping in Fitchburg. So it was unclear if that was a mistake or if that was a change.
Sure.
And if it was a change, that's a pretty significant difference in the bus service to the community that we need to immediately have a conversation about.
Okay.
Yeah. But I can forward you that email from Chad Brecklin as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission, the committee?
No more questions, but I just want to say welcome, Tim. We're glad to be at, I guess, are we at full strength, or are you still going to name a subordinate to handle transportation?
Yeah, we do currently have a position open for a transportation engineer. We had an interview set up with a gentleman. However, the day of the interview, he notified us that he had accepted another position. So the transportation engineer position still remains open. So we're hoping to get that filled as soon as possible. So that position then would be would be attending these meetings. So.
And I believe, Tim, you're recruiting for an assistant director of public works as well, is that correct?
Yes. So the assistant public works director, we're interviewing 4 candidates tomorrow morning. So hopefully, I feel pretty confident with the pool that we have. We'll be able to select one, and hopefully within the next 2 to 4 weeks that person starts. So that'll help out a lot.
Fabulous. All right, seeing no other questions, we can move on to agenda item number 8, the resolutions. So I'd like a motion on resolution R2223, adopting the 2023 update to the ARPA TID closure investment plan.
Do we want to discuss it first?
Oh, we could discuss it first.
Yeah, because I had some questions or points. Should I just proceed?
I'm just used to council where we always do motions.
Oh, well, then you're in charge.
So.
Yeah, I think get the motion on the floor and second it and then have a discussion.
All right.
Yeah.
Unless there's some introductory information.
No, I'll defer then.
And I'll move.
Great, moved by Elizabeth, and then do we have a second, or was Rich the first motion?
I'll defer.
I can second. Yeah.
Okay, Micah seconded. So I think, can we who's going to give this update? Is it Tim? I can also give some context as well. So I don't know if your comfort level, Tim, if you want to take the kind of stab at it, or do you want me to kind of talk about my background knowledge on this?
I'll let you state your background knowledge on it.
Great. You might remember that we did this last year, right around the same time. And if you'll recall, ARPA is the American Rescue Plan Act. It was a federal fund in response to the pandemic. We got about $3 million from federal funds that we could use for one-time use projects. At the same time, we were also closing a tax incremental district, and we're getting some money back from that because we didn't spend every single dollar in the account, and that was about $2 million. And so we put together an investment plan to kind of figure out how the city wanted to spend that, give the staff some direction in terms of what we wanted to move forward with. That was adopted last year. The reason that we're updating it is because in that interim period, some of those projects have been completed or started, and that money has been used. Some of the projects have come in far, far over cost of what was originally put into the plan, which obviously changes the context of what we had done. And then also there is a forthcoming additional tax increment district closure that will likely have another kind of windfall of a couple $1 million. So there will be more money coming in. All that being said, the investment plan is somewhat loose. It's not like our budget where we're very, very specific about things, or even the capital improvement plan where there's a lot of specificity. It's much more theoretical, and that's why sometimes things are a little bit more vague, and the price, the dollar amounts for each individual thing is not quite as precise. But there is an opportunity to add amendments and add things or remove things. But I will note that the total cost of everything that's currently in the plan is more than the money that we actually have to spend, which is okay because it's not about being a balanced budget, but it is something that's under consideration when we look at these things. And so we refer to all the commissions so they can take a look at the plan, see if there's anything related to the commissions that we should pursue. And if there's something very specific that this commission wants to pursue, I'd be happy to consider putting in an amendment for that. And if you'll recall, we did put in money for a transit study during the last ARPA TID process back last year, and that was successfully passed. And another thing that was of interest is I believe the senior center shuttle was added to the plan through an amendment, but that was by Alder Dave Herbst because he represents the Committee on Aging Well, which is part of talks about the senior center. So there's a little summary. I can answer questions. Maybe Tim can jump into, but we can go from there.
I did have a couple questions. On the CIP, page 5, item 13, transportation, original allocation 75,000, revised allocation was 41,000. So I was curious about the drop in that because, and yet, as you mentioned, the total exceeds the original amount anyhow. So I guess, is there money or projects that we had in the queue that are not going to be done because of that? Or how's that? I guess I'm looking for an explanation.
Can you tell me which page it's on? I'm sorry.
I'm on page 5 of the CIP budget and budget cover.
Yeah.
Which was an attachment for the part of in the packet.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't actually have the answer at this point. I can certainly follow up on that. There was a meeting where we dove into some of these things in more detail, but I can't speak to that myself at the current moment, so I'd have to follow back up on that.
All right, and the other question I had was just a general question on the proposed ARPA TID closure. A lot of the statuses, they're listed as in progress or not yet started or initiated. But if something is not yet started, that means it has not been denied yet or rejected or eliminated. It's still in the works, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I will say that my understanding, though, is that things are in very, very different levels of. Some of them are very, very nebulous ideas, and some of them are much more further along in terms of staff preparation and staff work on them. But yes, I believe that your interpretation is correct.
Okay, that's
Although
it.
I can double check on that as well.
That's it. I'm good.
Gabrielle, just a clarification for me, I'm a little confused right now. So we have this ARPA TID plan, but Rich was talking about the CIP, Capital Improvement Plan, and I thought these were two different things, and how are they related?
So this is actually, it's actually an error in the document title. I'll have to talk to Misty, our finance director, about it. The document is actually called CIP, which is why I think Rich is saying that. But if you look at the document cover, it's the City of Fitchburg ARPA TID Closure Investment Plan. It's probably just a template holdover from the CIP. So that is confusing, but the document that he's referencing is the ARPA TID.
And I found that through the packet. It was, I believe.
But I'm still not clear. Are these two different things?
No. It's honestly just a mistake in how it was uploaded to the website.
No, but there is an ARPA TID plan, and there is a capital improvement plan.
Yes, those are separate. Yeah.
Those are two different things. And which one are we reviewing tonight?
So this is just the ARPA TID Closure Investment Plan tonight. CIP will come in the summertime, usually around July is when that process will start. And then the budget process starts in the fall. And this is an unusual process. This is not something that we normally do. It's just because we have this, ball of extra money. So it's not, and I don't even think all communities are even planning in this particular way. We're just trying to be a little bit more strategic about how we spend the money and get some feedback about it.
Right. At some point, these two have to be integrated or merged, or the CIP will include ARPA TID money, or does it include ARPA TID money? Will it in the future?
It's a great question. Yes. So, and this happened last year as well. So ARPA TID projects that were like kind of very potentially near term, or I guess in the next 5 years, were intentionally added to the ARPA TID, or sorry.
To the CIP.
We reverse it. These projects, these ARPA TID projects, these one-time projects, last year we did add some of those to the CIP, and then subsequently did add some of those to the current budget, if we were able to do it immediately, or to the budget document that was for this current year. For this document, the same thing will happen. So we'll adopt this document. It'll give the staff some direction about where we want to go with this money, and then some of those things will be adopted into the CIP. And then into the budget. We don't have to spend this money all at once. I think the money has different sunset amounts of time, but we have, I think, at least something like 5 years for each of the, ARPA money has like about 5 years, and the TID money, literally, we can spend forever. It's just our own money. We can do whatever we want with it. So there's like a long horizon in terms of spending the money.
Okay, but right now we're commenting on the ARPA TID plan.
Yes.
Well, I had some thoughts on it. Are you waiting for a comment?
Yeah, please do jump in.
Okay, I did send around an email. I don't know if it got to some or all of you. Did anybody see my email? I'll just review a bit. One thing is, I think I'm going to suggest that we not act formally to either thumbs up or thumbs down on that ARPA TID plan until we've had a chance to put together a little more coherent comment on the issues that are raised in it, and we have time to do that. There's a public hearing next week or something, another one in March, and then I assume the council will act subsequent to that. So my suggestion is that we and I can draft a comment from us for discussion, modification, voting up or down at our next meeting, so that we have something that goes to council regarding the ARPA TID plan that is a little bit fleshed out. I'm not talking about a long, extensive comment, but at least that has some clear language to it of what our thinking is. Because I think this is an opportunity to communicate to the council, and it's a way of doing that I think is a little more efficient. So that's what I would propose in terms of action on this, is that we defer action to our next meeting. and that in that time I can prepare a draft reflecting comments that we hear tonight, and then we can review and revise that next time we meet.
Hey, real quick, this was brought up and this was on the agenda on Monday for Public Works, and we approved it unanimously. And the thought process behind this was that this is just the plan. We didn't go over the individual items. In each, we can make amendments, as Gabriella mentioned, to our city council members and all that other good stuff. Gabriella, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's not part of the actual plan. The plan is moving forward with, we've got this money to spend, we're going to spend it. We've got public hearings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We have this whole process that we're going through, and that's what we would actually be reviewing tonight.
That's okay. So at any rate, my proposal is that we not take an action tonight, but you all can consider that thought. But I'd also like, my other thoughts that I put in my email that you may or may not have received, or item one is that we don't know right now what we want to do as far as the shuttle, senior center, civic center shuttle, because that's going to be, there are 3 topics that are going to be reviewed in a study in the next year or so. We're going to get an analysis of a senior shuttle, a park and ride, or some kind of connection, public transport connection between Hatchery Hill and the City Hall. So I think we're waiting for more information before we would even be able to comment on how much or what should be spent. I do think that the amount allotted in the plan for a vehicle for a senior center shuttle is not adequate. So more money is needed for that. Another thought I had was that there is a separate chapter or section of the ARPA TID plan that talks about a bicycle e-way. And that's something that it's a transportation issue that we could comment on that as well. And I personally would just say amen to that. If the city can do that, that's fine. But my other thought, I don't know if this quite fits into this, but retirement of a TID involves some packet of money that's available, one-time available money that's been accumulated but it also opens up a stream of money. In other words, that's the whole point of the TID is that the tax increment that's been going to pay off bonds will now be coming to the city treasury. And so the city has a chance to earmark or consider how to use that stream of money. And at some point, I'd like to have consideration given to earmark part of that stream of money for supporting some of these other transportation options we've talked about, especially the senior center shuttle. So that's a bit of a mouthful, but that's where my thinking is.
I could jump in with some responses here, Bill. So in terms of the TID money, you're right in terms of that allocation of money to the TID ends, but that when we plan for TID closures, our finance director plans far in advance of the year we actually do it. And so that additional stream of money after the TID closes is actually budgeted into the 2020 budget. So, and that's how it's typically done. If we closed it on a random year where we didn't know, that would be the case, but this has already been planned in advance. Right. That's that one. And then in terms of what you and Michael are saying, I think you're both sort of right. So this plan is like kind of loosey-goosey, and maybe that's too of like informal of a term for it, but I think the most important part of the plan is that the things that we think are important for transit are included in the plan. And the things that we can include in the plan are one-time use things, which would be like buying a vehicle or paying for a plan. And so the inclusion of that is actually the most important part, because that gives us the possibility of using this money towards that end. And then in terms of the detail of how that process goes forward, how much money it is, that's actually more of a CIP or budget conversation because of the specificity of it. So all that being said, that Bill, what you're saying, I think that's great that I think we've done a good job as a committee so far commenting really specifically on what we'd like to see. Giving both the council and staff direction on what our opinion as a committee is. And I think we definitely could postpone this and consider it, but I think it's a little bit more relevant when we get to kind of when we're hard and fast, like putting it into a CIP plan and then putting it into the budget. That being said, I think there's nothing wrong with having that conversation. So
I'm a little confused again, because the agenda item is to adopt the 2023 update. And I was agreeing with Bill, because there's a lot of things that are vague in there, and I guess I'm still a little confused on is what we're actually trying to accomplish. Or is the thing we're adopting just saying that we're done and we'll figure out later what we're going to spend the money on?
So this is my understanding, and so hopefully I believe that I'm accurately representing this, but sort of, yes. So the amendment, the resolution here is going through every commission, it's going to council. As it comes back, there is that amendment process that's been laid out. So any of the council members can submit an amendment by March 1st. It goes through, very similar to how we do any amendment process, it goes through discussion and then voting. And then the plan, when it is finally adopted, it's with those amendments that we add or theoretically remove things. And this plan is by its nature is somewhat vague. And like I said, I think the important thing about this discussion and the reason that it's sent to different commissions is because each commission has its own, focus and conversations outside of the council setting. We know maybe more about what should be included in the transit sense than any other commission. So I think personally the important thing about the ARPA-TID consideration, in my personal opinion, would be for this committee to decide if there's anything missing or if there's anything that should be removed from the plan, because those numbers, the numbers are very theoretical, and even whether or not it happens is very theoretical because we literally can't do every single thing in the plan. It's really just putting things on the table, so to speak. I hope
I get. So the way I'm hearing is this is essentially basically kind of a wish list. I mean, like what's on here is already 1.2 million over the allocated amount.
Yeah.
And so we're basically just saying, this is basically just saying, if you want something on this list, get it on there now. And so, okay. I guess the one piece we gotta have is, so there's the senior center shuttle on there. I guess there is a possibility of, if we do this study and it goes forward and it recommends a shuttle that goes additional places other than the senior center, that we maybe just kind of expand the language in the shuttle section to say that it's possible that shuttle could serve other populations or other places besides the senior center.
Okay. Just taking some notes. Any other comments or?
I don't want to belabor all this at all, but a possible way here is to amend the language there. Instead of calling for a vehicle for the senior center, is to say that whatever will be available to address intra-city transportation needs identified by the Transportation Commission subsequent to the current study that's going to be initiated. So it's not, I think the senior center shuttle is important, but other things may be important. Maybe just in light of the fact that this is just kind of like a wish list, and it's kind of like vaguely earmarking money, maybe a little broader statement, but that also highlights that the details would be subject to Transportation Commission advice down the road.
All right, I can take a look at drafting something in an amendment form to kind of clarify the expansion of that topic. Although the fact that the transit feasibility has been funded and is on the table, I think that's hopefully going to continue pushing that process forward, so that idea is not going to fall by the wayside. But I'll take a look at that. So I have one suggestion. So we could just take a vote on this, just because I think ultimately I don't know that any of us are going to oppose the adoption of the final plan. But if we want to add an agenda item at the next meeting, just for additional discussion, not to take action on the resolution, but if anyone has any other things that they want to say. Although I will say that next meeting, it's past the deadline for council amendments. So at that point, there's very little that I could do, or in terms of adding or removing things. So
When is so I assume that the council is going to act on this later in March? Because, there's a hearing on March 14th or so, public hearing on this, so I assumed would it be after then?
yeah, I can pull up the schedule. Is it okay for me to share my screen, Scott or Chad?
Yes.
Okay. I believe this. All right, so hopefully you see this is the schedule. And we are, there was a meeting last week to discuss the plan. So if anyone wants to get into more nitty-gritty details, there was kind of presentations associated with that. There's a public hearing next week at the council.
Thing I was reading.
So Bill or anybody that wants to express those ideas, if you wanted to come in person and do that, you'll be welcome to, as any member of the public would. And then the council proposed amendments are due on that March 1st. So, and I believe we meet next 9th. So, and that being said, with this conversation, you can also reach out to me as individuals and let me know, give me a call and let me know if there's something missing that we haven't discussed. But
Well, don't we need to do that in a meeting if there's something missing or needs to be added? I think Micah's right. This is a wish list that's already over budget. I personally am, after looking through this, I'm prepared to make a decision tonight, because it seems to me that there's nothing really missing, and if anything, there's going to have to be stuff removed.
I agree. It seems like our comments would be more about specifics, and that's not the point of this document. So it makes sense to vote tonight and then also provide feedback in other ways as we move forward and the process moves forward.
and the CIP and the budget process, when those things come through, is a good opportunity for that more specific comment, in my opinion. Okay, so we have a motion on the table. I don't see any more comments, so I think we'll go ahead and take a vote on this. All in favor of R2223, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right. And then I guess we can move on to agenda item number 9, announcements. First announcement, next meeting is Thursday, March 9th, 2023 at 6:30. Are there any announcements from Tim or from anyone else in the commission?
I do not have anything.
Great.
Hey, Tim, thank you for keeping the streets clear for us.
You're welcome.
All right, so with all that being, we're at the end of the agenda, so I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 7:08 PM. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you, Gabriella.
Thank you.